Coronation Street viewers were far from relieved when Theo Silverton and Todd Grimshaw decided to end their relationship, even though many fans had been hoping the disturbing romance would finally be over. Those who regularly watch the ITV soap know that the partnership between the builder and the undertaker has been extremely toxic. Todd has endured both physical and emotional abuse from Theo, along with intense control that eventually extended to Theo taking charge of Todd's finances. Back in January, it briefly seemed as though Todd might escape the situation. Billy Mayhew discovered exactly what Todd had been suffering and tried to help him break free from Theo. Billy planned to take Todd away from the situation after attending Debbie Webster and Ronnie Bailey's wedding in Yorkshire. However, their attempt to leave quietly collapsed when Theo unexpectedly appeared before the group returned to Weatherfield in a minibus, creating a tense and awkward atmosphere. The situation quickly became even more dramatic when the minibus was caught in a devastating multi-vehicle crash. The accident formed the centerpiece of the huge crossover storyline between Coronation Street and Emmerdale, known as Corriedale. Although most passengers managed to escape the wreckage, Billy became trapped inside the vehicle. When it looked like Theo might help him, he instead cruelly fastened Billy back into his seatbelt and abandoned him as the minibus erupted into flames. Later, Theo appeared to show remorse during Billy's funeral, but he soon began twisting the story in an attempt to make Todd feel responsible for Billy's death. Since that tragic loss, Theo's behavior toward Todd has only become worse, making life increasingly difficult for him as he struggled with grief. Earlier this week, the tension escalated again when it was Theo's birthday. Todd was clearly anxious about making the day special for his partner, but Theo ruined the occasion by deliberately picking a fight. His irritation began when he seemed unimpressed by the gifts Todd had bought him, despite Todd having no access to his own money for several months and receiving help from Summer Spellman. Theo's anger intensified when Todd arrived late for their birthday dinner at the bistro. To make the evening more uncomfortable, Theo started ordering the most expensive dishes on the menu, and even invited Gary Windis and Maria Connor to join them. The awkward situation grew worse when Todd's card was declined, and Theo ended up paying the bill himself. After returning to the flat, things took another frightening turn. When Todd suggested they switch from wine to coffee, Theo reacted by hurling objects toward him, including smashing mugs while Todd tried to prepare the drink. When Todd attempted to calm the situation, Theo grabbed a knife, appearing ready to attack him. The aftermath of this latest argument was shown in Wednesday's episode. Todd, still shaken, struggled to get his blender working and eventually hurled it across the room in frustration just as Gary Windass let himself into the flat. After Gary spoke with him, Theo eventually returned home to talk things through with Todd. During the tense conversation, Todd apologized for everything that had happened and asked Theo if he felt any regret for his actions. Theo admitted that he was sorry. Todd then explained that their relationship could not continue in the same destructive cycle of fighting, making up, and repeating the same painful pattern again and again. Surprisingly, it was Theo who suggested ending the relationship. He told Todd that he would eventually move on and recover from the breakup. Theo then apologized once more before saying goodbye and leaving the flat. Despite the apparent split, many Coronation Street fans remain convinced that the story is far from finished. A number of viewers believe Theo's decision to walk away may simply be another manipulative tactic designed to keep control over Todd. Some fans think Theo hopes Todd will chase after him, while others fear the character may return with even more dangerous mind games in the future. Coronation Street villain Theo ends relationship with Todd, but darker moments lie ahead. Tensions reached a shocking peak between the pair in last night's episode when Theo threatened Todd while holding a knife. The frightening confrontation followed a disappointing birthday for Theo after Todd suggested he switch from drinking alcohol to having coffee instead. The suggestion only angered Theo further, and the situation quickly spiraled as he began throwing objects at Todd before eventually pulling out the blade. In a heartbreaking moment, Todd told Theo to go ahead and use the knife, admitting he could not continue living under such misery any longer. Actor Gareth Pierce explained that during that scene, Todd briefly finds the courage to stand up to Theo, but beneath that bravery lies deep sadness. He suggested that Todd feels completely unsafe in the relationship and is losing hope after enduring so much emotional pain. He added that Todd reaches a point where he believes Theo has already caused so much damage to his life that the situation almost feels beyond repair. In the following episode, viewers learned that Theo had spent the night sleeping in his van, while Todd sadly blamed himself for how badly everything had spiraled. When Gary Windass visited to check on him, Todd even questioned whether there was any possibility for him and Theo to rebuild their relationship, prompting Gary to encourage him to speak with Theo directly. Later that evening, Todd finally got the chance to talk with Theo, and he quickly admitted that their relationship could not continue in the same toxic way. However, Todd was left stunned when Theo suddenly decided to end the relationship himself, explaining that neither of them seemed happy anymore. After returning his engagement ring, Theo walked away, leaving Todd alone, but the nightmare is far from over. Future episodes reveal that Theo will deliberately try to make Todd jealous by going on dates with other men and openly flirting in front of him. When Todd later attempts to enjoy himself and move forward with his own life, Theo reacts with extreme behavior by secretly drugging Todd's drink. The shocking act raises concerns about whether Todd will be safe. Reflecting on what happens after the breakup, Gareth Pierce explained that the separation could give Todd time to reflect on everything he has experienced and possibly gain a clearer perspective on the situation. He also hinted that people close to Todd, including Sarah, George, and Summer, may try to gently encourage him to stay away from Theo, although they might not fully understand the extent of the suffering Todd has endured. There may be moments where those around him quietly support him in moving forward, believing that the end of the relationship could ultimately be a positive step. At the same time, the distance from Theo may leave Todd feeling lonely, something that previously kept him trapped in the relationship longer than he should have stayed. According to Gareth, Todd had always feared being left alone, and that fear may have played a role in why he remained with Theo for so long, a fear that ultimately came back to trouble him. Second major Emmerdale spoilers for next week, 16th to 20th of March. Next week in Emmerdale, Patty and Dylan decide to surrender themselves to the police and end up facing charges for perverting the course of justice. At the same time, Graham intensifies his efforts to turn Joe against Kim, while Eric begins to suspect that Jai and Corrie are hiding something. Here are the key storylines viewers can expect to see. 1. Bear makes a shocking confession. During police questioning, Bear becomes increasingly frustrated as D.S. Walsh continues pressing her theory that his background in wrestling gave him the skills needed to murder Ray. Pushed to his limit, Bear lashes out and eventually claims responsibility for Ray's death. In an attempt to shield Patty, he insists the killing was intentional. However, by making this false confession, Bear may have put himself at risk of spending the rest of his life behind bars. 2. Patty and Dylan make a huge sacrifice. Realizing Bear could take the blame for something he didn't do, Patty and Dylan decide to take responsibility themselves. Knowing Bear had already suffered months of captivity at the farm, they choose to turn themselves in to the authorities. The moment is heartbreaking for Mandy, who watches them make their sacrifice. She and Patty share an emotional goodbye hug at the police station reception before he hands himself over. Their situation soon becomes even worse when they are informed that both of them will be formally charged with perverting the course of justice. Emmerdale is broadcast every weekday evening at 8 p.m. on ITV1, and viewers can also watch the episodes online through the ITVX streaming platform.